We don't only want to be number one, like we want to be the number one in the world. If we drop to number two, we're fucking up.
Yeah.
It's just like that's not even an option.
Within days of recording, Frank, the leader of the DGods, revealed his identity for the first time. There's a lot of talk going on right now since he revealed his identity. If you guys want a part 2, let us know in the comments.
I'm Jake.
And I'm Austin, and together we run 626, an LA-based creative studio.
Over the past 6 years, we've generated over 8 figures in revenue and have produced content for some of the biggest artists and brands, from Samsung to Amazon and Billie Eilish to Doja Cat.
Join us in the green room where we go behind the scenes with this generation's leaders and talk all things creative and marketing.
Today we're so excited to welcome one of my good friends, Taylor, co-founder of DeGods, currently the #1 NFT project on Solana, which is one of the most popular blockchain platforms in the Web3 NFT crypto space. He's also the co-founder of DustLabs and DeLabs. Taylor, thanks so much for joining us today.
What's up?
As you know, we've been friends for a long time, and I've just always seen you as a hustler and a marketing guru that I always come to for advice. So I'd love for you just to share with the audience as much as you can about your background and what's led up you to joining the DeGod team and turning it into a leading NFT on the blockchain.
Yeah. First off, super happy to be here. I've always looked up to you guys as, killers in the industry. So, just happy to be here. Also, had to wear the Bitcoin mask just to show my support for all my brothers that are, our fallen soldiers here, Anyway, a little background about myself. The question was just my background?
Yeah, I'd love to just know more about like your background before you even got into the Web3 space and just like what you've learned doing that and what got you to be able to apply that.
Yeah, so I don't really have like a short version, so I'll just do the long version. I grew up in the Valley here in LA, was always just super interested in like popular culture, entertainment, entrepreneurship, just honestly wanted to make like money, I think like everybody else. Wow, that sounded so douchey.
No, when did you start making money? Like what was your first thing you started doing? First job ever was working at American Eagle when I was 15. I was like, the second that I could get a job, I got one, because my parents told me they wouldn't buy me a car. So I was like, I gotta get a car. So I started working at, in like, I think like all the cliche, like, high school jobs. Very quickly realized that like, punching a clock was, I think totally respectable, but just like didn't have enough leverage. And so I think I also just like, had friends, parents, and like older siblings, and like everybody who seemed like they were enjoying themselves and making money were they had their own thing, whether it was they were creative or they were an entrepreneur. And so that all just really intrigued me. And I thought that would be something really cool to do for myself. So when I was actually a pretty poor student in high school, I almost didn't graduate because I had like more absences my senior year than I had presents. Yeah. I was so bad the last year. So I almost didn't graduate high school. And so I knew that I have to like figure something out to go to college. I didn't want to be a loser. So I just went to community college for 2 years and like worked my absolute hardest, and somehow I got into like my dream school, which was UCLA, and that was pretty crazy because at the time I didn't even think that was possible. So that like really opened me up because I was like, wow, if I can do that, what else can I do? And I picked up a book that summer. It was like the first summer that I had off because I had been taking so many classes, and it was The 4-Hour Workweek by like Tim Ferriss. And I just followed the book, and the book pretty much just explains how to like set up an online business. And I thought that was really cool. And they kind of like, the book is like very like cliche, and it like sells you the ideal life, and you're like, holy shit, I could be like 20 and like making a fuck ton of money. And you had seen YouTube videos like that, but it was just like the first time I like picked up a book, and like for whatever reason that feels like so much more tangible. So I just followed the book, and I started like a little e-commerce business. Was that your first hustle?
And that was like my first real hustle. And it honestly like worked. Like everything worked from the book. And I like, it was obviously a little different, but the framework was there. Like I think the book was like, do like Google ads. And that was like really not the wave, but like Facebook ads was a thing. And I like figured that out and just like watched YouTube videos and like had like this first like successful business, and like went from, working a job where I was like, making like $10-15 an hour, like working at a restaurant, to like, like making like a real salary, like, and that was pretty crazy, to have, like economic abundance. And at that point you're just hooked,
Yeah.
And
I just know a lot of people that like just try to do that will usually fail. Like, what do you think was what made you successful at it and actually be able to like earn real money off doing that?
I think I was just really eager and was having fun. So I remember like I would just like try anything. And I honestly, it's funny because we're talking about marketing, but it really did come down to like I had a lot of fun with the idea of like trying to make something viral or make something cool that was eye-catching. So I would do anything. Like the business was like a phone accessory thing, and I would just think of like the craziest things that I could do to like show off like the strength of the accessories and all this stuff. And that led to a lot of really cool creative ideas, which translated to I think like more clicks and interest, and that allowed me to actually have a base to build a business.
Totally, because you had one clip that just went viral and went nuts, right?
Yeah, this is crazy. I think it's something, you guys are obviously into like high production value, which is like something that is, I think, like what everybody strives to be like. But at the time I had like no resources, and I just had an iPhone, and I just made this one clip. And I remember I found this guy on Fiverr, and I like sent him a video. It was like one of those, like when those Business Insider ads were kind of like going off, where they were like, they just have like the text. And I just sent him this one video. I was like, hey, can you just like copy this? And he did. And it came out like it looked like the real thing. And I was like, holy shit, that's so insane. Like I just shot this on my phone, and now this looks like a Business Insider video. And I remember I like posted it, and just alone, without any push, any like any marketing, like any ad spend on it, it was getting, I got sales on it. And I was like, holy shit, like this is fucking insane. Like I got like, and at this point I had like, in my entire life had like 2 sales. Yeah. So then I'm like, I post this video and it's like getting sales, and I'm like, holy shit. And then the second I started putting any ad spend behind it, it was insane. And it's crazy because I have friends that are like crazy e-com guys now, and I'll pull up like that Facebook ads account, and like my ROAS, for anybody that like knows this stuff, was like a 17x. So for every dollar I would spend, I would get 17. It was it was heinous. And I wish I just had the understanding of how blessed I was at the time, because I think I could have taken that business a lot further. But yeah, it was a great learning experience. And yeah, from there I just kind of went from kind of product to product, like a lot of people who kind of do e-commerce, and then I stumbled into something that was more sustainable, and worked on that business for a few years, sold the business, and then that's when I got into crypto, and a few months later with like some friends started DGods. So that's kind of the story of that.
I just know ever since we were friends in like high school and just hanging out through college, you were always like hustling and doing stuff. And then I remember when you sold your business, and I was like, holy shit, like that's impressive. Like I actually have a friend that sold a business. It's not just some like Instagram guy I follow that's doing it. But then I feel like we stopped talking for maybe like 2-3 months, and then the next thing I knew, you were like in the Web3, and I just feel like you got into that like so quick. Like what motivated you or like gauged your interest so hard to want to like dive into that and just like really figure that out?
Yeah, for sure. So what happened was when I sold the company, I was like it was 2 things. It was, first I was like, okay, well I kind of have like some money now, and I want to like put this somewhere. And I had already started like buying Bitcoin and stuff like that. I started buying Bitcoin back in like 2019, pretty much all throughout the pump. I got no good entry. And I had a few friends that were just all my friends that were like Web 2, because I had met a lot of friends in college that went to go work in Silicon Valley, and all of those friends started getting really interested in Web 3. And so when I finally had time, and I was just like, looking for the next thing, it seemed like that was like the obvious thing to do. But I was experimenting with a few other things. We worked on a couple different weekend business ideas where, you throw some shit together and see if it works. And we were just, I think at the time, like NFTs were just really exciting, and they were really bubbling on ETH. And for those who don't know, I mean, I think everybody knows Ethereum by now, but that's like the big smart contract chain that everybody knows. That's what like all the big NFT projects are on. And there was a huge community of people doing that, and people were just starting to kind of mess around with this other chain called Solana. And we just saw an opportunity. We were like, wow, this is really cool. There's like a ton of momentum in this space, and there's like a lot of people that seem to be like excited to spend time with other people that are also interested in this space. And we just saw the opportunity to make a project, and that was, we were off to the races. Yeah.
Nice. Were those people the same ones you were like doing weekend stuff with, and then it just kind of turned into fuck it, let's go Web3?
Yeah, this is kind of like a cool, it's funny because we've, with the guys that I started DGods with, Frank, Finn, Delilah, for those people that know about DGods, we'll be like reminiscing these days. And it's funny because like there was like a time, it was like 6 months, where it was just like the same-ish group of guys, and every weekend it was like something new. It was like, oh, let's start an app, like let's make a fucking we were like, let's make a coffee company, and we were like, let's do this. It was just like every few weeks we had a new idea, and we would just kind of all like put our heads together and see if we could make something that was cool, that had it got some momentum. And that was like, we're all like ADHD people, so we need like the feedback to get excited. And I think that's why the NFT thing worked so well, was because it was like exhilarating. There's so much momentum in that space, so it was just like us kind of like trying something that was novel, and people really connected to it.
At the time, was it like you guys were just throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks, or was there at a point where you're like, oh, Solana, Web3, like this is where we all have a fire for, let's figure out what the fuck we could do in this?
Yeah, how did you know like this was something you guys wanted to actually pursue?
Yeah, dude, so that's a great, so our de facto leader, everybody knows him on Twitter, is Frank, and he's like a super close friend of mine, and he was the one that really had been like studying the space for a really long time, and he was already really passionate about it. And a couple of his buddies were like deep in the space. So he was definitely like the person that had been observing like NFTs and Solana NFTs, and he was the one that was really, that like pitched it hard to us. And I think it just got, it was how young the space was, how much cool shit was happening in the space, and also how much like shitty like ideas and projects were gaining momentum. It was kind of like, it reminds me of like TikTok in the early days, where it was like you could like literally post a picture of, or like a video of anything, and it would just like go viral. And it was kind of like, if you were a content creator at the time, I'm sure you would have seen that space and been like, holy fuck, like everybody's going viral on this. And we were kind of like the same way. It was like, we're like a group of entrepreneurs, and we're like, look, anything's going viral. Like, what if we built something that was actually valuable, and that people could, that we think that we could actually bring value back to people? Like, that'd be nuts. And we were just honestly just having fun too. Like, I don't even want to say it like it was like some master plan. It was like, we were having fun. We wanted to build something, and we saw an opportunity, we took it.
Yeah, I'm curious, like how did you guys know like the partnership between each of you would like work, and like what did you bring to the table that everyone needed and stuff? Like for us, we got lucky and our partnership just happened to work. We were driving one day and he's like, should we start a company? We're like, okay, and we go drive to his mom's house, and we went to his room and figured it out.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So we always talk about this because the four of us, so it was five of us that started the project, but it was really four of us at the initial stage. And at the time, it was like, we all just by happenstance ended up, two of us were living in an apartment, me and Delilah, who's the artist behind DGods, DeGods and Utes, and Frank and Finn were living in an apartment, and we were like 2 blocks away from each other. And it's really interesting. We all had like a little bit of a unique skill set that was that just like together made for this like perfect founding team for an NFT project. Like, Delilah was the artist. I was like marketing and like operations. Frank was marketing and vision, and like Finn was a developer. And so we just had this like perfect, like we were just like, okay, like we just come
Perfect
together.
storm,
Yeah, it was
yeah.
just like this perfect little like thing. The only thing that we needed help with was like none of us knew how to like code on the blockchain. And so we had to recruit one of our friends, and like Frank happened to know this guy that he went to like a coding boot camp with. And it was this dude from Alabama. In the community, he's known as Base Bob. And yeah, great name. And like Frank just like hit him up, and I remember we were like, we're gonna try and launch this NFT project in 3 weeks, like fly to LA, and let's just like work on it. And by this time we had already, I think we had like just like maybe launched the Twitter, just like the idea, and we were like, fuck, we need help with this. And he honestly, like, shout out to him, like we bought him a plane ticket. But he was just like, fuck it, I'm down. And he came to West Hollywood, and we all just like sat in an apartment for literally like 2 weeks, day in and day out, like literally no sleep, just trying to get this project off the ground. And yeah, it was kind of like, it was honestly a very magical time. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, just before we dive in even further, I just know there's probably a lot of listeners that have like heard of the term NFT, Web3.
Yeah.
They kind of have an idea about it, but like how would you describe NFT, Web3, and then going into like what is DGods and what does that mean to be like a DGod NFT?
Yeah. I mean, NFTs are pretty much like it's funny because there's like a ton of different utility to an NFT, but like how we most commonly know them is it's like it's a way to attach a file to the blockchain pretty much, and it proves its uniqueness on the blockchain. So it could be an audio file, it can be an image, it can be a video. Most commonly we know them as images, and most popular NFTs are like collections of images. So like Bored Ape is probably the one that everybody knows. They're like the famous monkeys, and that's a collection of 10,000 unique pieces of art, pretty much. But it's all been generated algorithmically. So how that works, and I hope that you guys can add some like visuals to this to make it help people understand. But pretty much like a piece, what we do with DGods, which is the same thing, we're PFP collection, which means a profile picture collection. So it's a collection of 10,000 profile pictures. The utility, the idea behind it was that it was meant for people to use it as like an avatar, a social avatar.
So self-expression.
Yeah, exactly. And for it's like people can recognize that you're a member of a community, similar to like, wearing your collegiate like hoodie signals that, you're a part of this community. You went to X university. The PFP serves a purpose of showing that sense of community. But the art itself is created by, you take a base piece of art, which is like, so imagine like the monkey without any clothing. Yeah, like a mannequin. And then what you do is you create different facial expressions, clothing items, and then you put that all into, you make like hundreds of different variations of that. You put that all into a generator code, and the code spits out, even if you only have like a couple hundred traits, it'll spit out unique variations. So that's what makes it's a really interesting art form, because what you're doing is you're creating all these different pieces of art, like say like a really cool looking hoodie, but then it's like it does that blend together well with any of the 100 hats that you have. Yeah. And so that's really like when I think about like what is an NFT, obviously there's like the very like core utility to it, and then there's like the PFP part. But most like when we think about like, everybody always like wonders like, how do you value these NFTs? And I think that like the discovery of value of an NFT is a really tricky one, because when you think about art has the price discovery of art is infinite. Like how much do you value then the Mona Lisa? Like you can't. And I would probably say it's probably worth like a country. You know what I mean? Like It's impossible to value that, right? And so when you think about art, it's very hard to value. But most I think like, and then on the other hand, what do you value like a social avatar? I think the value of a social avatar is almost zero. If you think about like your Memoji, it comes for free with your phone. Yeah. Like that's free. there's zero value to that. So how do you get like a Bored Ape which costs like $250,000? Like how do you value that?
Yeah.
And I think what it is these are NFTs, because they're non-fungible, allow you to they allow you the creator of NFTs can give you like gated or ungated access to digital spaces. So most notably, we know of like Discords, where it's like it's a private Discord, and your NFT is your token, it's your key into that community. So how we kind of get to that, wow, I'm getting like really nitty gritty in here, but this is like how I would just say, like, just to like really flesh it out for those people who are out there that are curious, is an NFT is like is obviously it's art, and on the other side it's like a key into a community, an online community that's been somewhat curated. And then that's how you can find these valuations of like NFT collections where the average value is in the hundreds of thousands or in the tens of thousands, is because there's enough demand for what's inside of that community and the people and the access that you get and the utility that community will provide. And that's where you get kind of like the value behind it. I wonder if that's helpful for anyone.
Yeah, I mean, the way I kind of think about it is I kind of see it as like it's the internet community, but it's like for like the sneakerheads, like, that kid's wearing the off-white Jordans, like it's a form of self-expression, oh, he's like minded like you and is into the same stuff. The only difference is, since it's an NFT, it's a real pair of those and it's not a fake one and it's legit.
Yeah.
When did you guys like officially start? Like, what was it, the month and year of when you guys were like, let's do this?
Yeah, so we started on, I think it was actually September 2nd of last year.
2021.
Of 2020.
So it's just been over a year.
Yeah, it's just been over a year. That was when we like started.
And when did you launch?
We launched the project officially. We had like our full launch on October 9th. But we had our first sale of the NFTs, our pre-sale, was the 22nd.
So you had not even a month before your pre-sale and a little more than a month for your launch.
Yeah. Which is insane to think about. I have no idea how we did it.
Why did you guys, like, what was the specific reasoning for like having to launch on a certain date?
So the reason, and I don't know how much we've talked about this in public, but like we had friends that started a project, and we like bought into it. Me and Frank and a few others. This was before DGods, and we found out that they had launched the project in like 2 weeks, and we were like, holy fuck! Like, to us that was very cool, because like we're like, I don't know about you guys, but like, we're just like people that love projects, and like the shorter the project the better, because you can just like, you're like, oh, we can just like,
grind.
like, yeah, we can grind this out and like, like get really creative, and then we don't have to like, it was almost like we didn't have to think about the future. We could just focus on this few weeks. So we were like, we're gonna launch this in 2 weeks, and then it got pushed to 3. And then that was the first pre-sale, and then we launched it, and then it was kind of this like, oh fuck moment. Like, we launched this thing. We were like, the entire time we were like, can we pull this off? Can we not?
What exactly during this time were you doing to push like the marketing and like getting people excited and helping to build that community?
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of the primary focus, and I can touch on some other things, was just like, it was like, okay, we need to build hype on Twitter. We need to make this art. We need to design websites, and we're just like everything, and like the communications around it. We need to build hype within the community. And so I mean, I think we're all kind of like, bumblebeeing around, like that's kind of like the natural thing. But I was like, definitely, me and Frank were like focused primarily on like building the hype within the community. So the next thing that we did was,
do you have examples of like what you were doing to build that hype?
What do you mean?
Like what efforts or like what strategic like marketing tactics were you doing that was like helping to like build the hype and get people excited for the mint?
Yeah, so I'll give you one. So after that first week kind of like started going viral, we had people in the Discord, and like we were like, okay, how can we make them like more engaged, and how can we make this community like exciting and cool and fun? So we came up with this idea, which was called the Bounty Challenge. So we had like, we pretty much made an Excel sheet with like a bunch of crazy things that people could do. And so like things like get a DGods tattoo, like call your mom and pitch her DGods, or like pitch a random stranger on the street like DGods and all this stuff. And the big stipulation was, so the reward for doing these things was a whitelist spot, which was like access to minting the NFT. And then if you did like 10 of them, you would get like a free DGod.
Oh, sick.
But the stipulation was to complete any of these tasks, you had to post it on Twitter. And so what happened was all these people were filming these crazy stunts, and like we still like use some of these videos in like our like promos. And yeah, it pretty much like those videos on their own were starting to go a little bit viral, and it just made the community look super sick. And just through that, I remember we got like our first like 1,000 people in the Discord, and that was just started building up the hype, and the community had like this fun-loving spirit about it. Instantly, because it was just like everybody was built off of this like good vibe of like, hey, we're like coming together to like mint this NFT that's all about like he's fucking the paper hands. So it's like immediately it's kind of like it's like people who are like there to like ride this to the moon, you know, they're like riding this together as like a team. And then also like the whole energy of it was like you're part of this community that's fun, that does crazy shit, that's just like having a good time. And I think that was like the real like the start of that of like really what became the DGods community, which is very well known as just being like a really fun, cool place to be to hang out in on the internet.
Totally. Yeah. And obviously you had a successful mint. I'm curious though, if you had to go back, was there anything that like you fucked up in those 3 weeks, or that you would go back and like wish you could change?
Yeah, so there was like a lot there's definitely a lot of fuck ups, a ton.
Was there one like specifically that stands out?
Yeah, one that stands out. Fuck, like some year I'm like, oh, how much of this story can I tell? The biggest fuck up was so 2 weeks into the project, we were in LA, and things were going pretty smoothly, but we weren't done. Like we had built like some hype, but we were definitely not secured. We had not secured selling out a mint. We like the project could have gone either way. We had a little bit of hype. People liked us, but we were definitely not like it wasn't like confirmed that we were gonna be successful. Yeah, exactly. And so our developer had to go home because something about his dogs. I think his dogs were like fucked up. Our dev baseball, right? And we pretty much, he was like, oh, I got to go home. We're like, fuck, dude, like, what are we going to do without him here? Like, are we going to be like FaceTiming? Is that even going to work? Like, we need him to do all this shit. And so we made the decision that we were going to fly to Alabama, which is where he was from. I don't know if I can say that, but, you know, bleep it out or some shit. Yeah, it's fine. He's from Alabama. Fuck it. And
people.
Yeah. And so not only is he from Alabama, he's from like a town in Alabama, right? He's from a town in Alabama. Check. Like in the middle of fucking nowhere. So we literally, all of us decide that we're going to fly to Alabama. And he's like, you guys can crash in my house. And we're like, sick. So we literally fly to Alabama, and we're in this like in the middle of fucking nowhere. And we're like trying to get this project out there, right? And like, just so that you understand what needs to happen, we need to write a smart contract. We need to finish 10,000 pieces of art. We need to continue building hype within the community, because we need 10,000, pretty much 10,000 or more people to like mint this, so that there's enough hype so that people don't immediately sell it all and say like, fuck this.
Because in the NFT world, if you don't sell out your mint, you're pretty much doomed.
Yeah, it's done for you, honestly. And that's really, and it's not like, it's also just responsibility to your holders, because it's like, if there's not hype, then everybody who mints feels like an idiot. And so you don't want that to happen. So it was like, not only that, and then it was like, we needed, you know, marketing materials, our website to be functional. We needed all these things to happen. Even just doing one of these things would have been like an effort.
So you were somewhere but nowhere at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. So we're in the middle of all of this. Nothing is clearly going to be completed. But the most important thing was we needed a smart contract to have the paper hand bitch tax. That was the big thing. Could the NFT be like have in it the tokenomics built in, so that if someone lifted it under the floor, they would be charged the tax, because we need the marketplaces to read that. And we, at the time, we were saying that we were going to build a marketplace. That was another thing. Holy fuck, I forgot about that. We were also trying to build a marketplace. So all of this, and it was 5 of us. And yeah.
You have to make 10,000 individual pieces of art?
Yes.
Like 10,000 original pieces.
So algorithmically, do you remember when I was explaining it? So
Yes.
we're pretty much what we're doing is probably creating like 300 pieces of unique art that are being that are generating
we
the
have to
10,000.
test it on top of each other just to see if it'd work on multiple ones.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so that was all the shit that we had to do, and it was 5 of us, and we're in fucking Alabama. And the only reason why that's a thing that I think is worth mentioning is it's just like, you can't fucking Uber Eats shit. There's like one Chipotle in this town. Like, you know, it's just like everything is a little bit more difficult. Like you're definitely
it's not convenient.
And it's fucking humid, and you can't go outside. There's no fucking roads. Like there was
Wi-Fi?
Like, there was Wi-Fi, thank God. Shout out our Bob had like great Wi-Fi in his house, so that was definitely helpful. But anyway, 2 or 3 days in, his parents come home, and I don't know. I think it was like his parents were coming back or something, and he was like, "Guys, I don't know if we can stay here." We're all like crashing out on this couch. It was so fucking, oh my God. There was like 2 dogs in this house that would like come and jump on you and like sleep like on top of you. There was like, it was fucking heinous. And anyway, so he's like, "Guys, I don't know if we can stay here." We're like, "Fuck this, we can't do this." So we get like a motel. So we're literally in like a Motel 6 or some like Best Western, like whatever, you know, like think of like a cliche, like middle fucking nowhere, like motel. And we're like, we're going to finish this project here. And so long story short, this is like a day before the pre-sale. We still need to finish the smart contract. We're getting there. But things are not, it's not clear that everything is done yet. But we're like, you know, we're very much like, okay, we set the date, we'll make it happen kind of people. Like, okay, we said it was going to be by the 22nd, so this is when it's going to happen. We got to hit it. And so the day of the mint, we're like, we finally get everything done. And we're like, fuck yes, we got it. And so we're telling everybody's in the Discord, they're all hyped. And the thing that we forgot was that we had to upload all 10,000 pieces of art to the blockchain. And we're on shitty motel Wi-Fi. So we thought it was going to take, we had allotted like 2 hours for it. Ended up taking 16 hours. So it was literally like I'm not even kidding, 10 hours. We were like, we'd have to like literally tell people every like hour, like, "Guys, give us 1 more hour." And people waited. People were in different time zones. They stayed up all night. And people were so mad. It was insane. Like, we thought we were done. We thought we were done for. Finally, we do the mint. It goes fucking berserk. It was like, it only lasted like the first pre-sale, which was like a couple thousand NFTs or 1,500 or something like that. Sold out very quickly. And we were like, holy shit. We actually did this. And that was the big momentum. That was like, okay.
Was that when like we're onto something?
We were like for sure. And now there's no turning back. Like,
how long did they sell out?
I think the first one was like 20 minutes or something.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And what
and that's on a blockchain that's not even that popular, right?
What was the floor price on these for people to purchase them out?
So we were selling them for 3 SOL, which was about $500 at the time.
Okay.
But we taxed ourselves because we like, the whole thing was that like, because it took us so long, we were like, we're giving ourselves our own paper hand bitch tax. So we taxed ourselves 33%, which was 1 SOL. So the pre-sale was 2 SOL. And so
just for perspective, so start at 2. What was the highest
that it's ever been?
Yeah.
Like 600 and something, yeah. 600,
for one.
Yeah, for one, yeah.
Wow.
Which was like, the highest we ever got in USD value was in May or April. It was like 35K USD per in JCAD one.
Yep. My biggest mistake.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's amazing. What do you think it took from like at that point when you knew like, okay, now we're onto something, to now turning it into the #1 NFT on the Solana blockchain? What does that look like? And like, what would you say like the #1 thing is, like marketing wise, that got you to get to that level?
Yeah, and I can talk about a few other things. So
yeah,
first off, after that, our like work was definitely not done, because we had like we did this first pre-sale. We're like, now people are committed. Like we did another pre-sale, and then we did the final sale. But even getting there was a mish, because there was so much more shit that had to be done. We were building our own marketplace. That was the big thing. So we started building the own marketplace. When we launched, the marketplace literally didn't work. Like, and just for context, like all of us had not like slept for like,
I was gonna ask.
Yeah, it was like we were doing like 48 hour, like it was consistent, like 2 days, like no sleep, like, and this was going on now. We were like 5 weeks in, where it was like the first couple weeks it's like sustainable, where you're like, okay, 2 weeks, like, you know, we're not sleeping, whatever. I mean, and that's like, obviously I'm saying not sleeping. It's like you're sleeping like 4 hours a night or some whatever. But then when you go on 5 weeks, everybody was so burnt out. And so there was definitely like, it got a little sloppy. And so when we dropped the NFT, when we finally sold all the NFTs, there was so much pressure. We had delayed even a little bit. And when we dropped the marketplace, it pretty much bricked. And
what does that mean?
What that means is that people were listing their NFTs, and they couldn't unlist, or people were selling or people had purchased something, and they couldn't
get the transfer.
They couldn't receive the NFTs. So pretty much that led to a month-long shit show of getting everybody their NFTs and money back. So that was like our first month of having the project. There was no hype. It was only people that were pissed off.
Yeah.
Because we were like, we figured out, we got really lucky. There was this marketplace at the time called Alpha Art. And they were like, hey, we can build your guys' paper hand, bitch tax, all this shit. And so like 2, 3, maybe 4 days after we launched, they were like, hey, everybody can go list over there. The issue was a fuck ton of people had used our marketplace, and a lot of their shit was trapped on their Solana or their NFT. So we had to manually, this was like a fucking nightmare. We had like, I'm not even kidding, it was like 3,000 customer service emails, and I had to do every single one of them.
Oh my God.
It was like manually, like literally, like it was insane.
Jeez.
And but it was like, you know, in retrospect, I think it was like one of the greatest things we ever did.
Yeah.
Because at the time, you know, a lot of projects don't have trust. That's the issue. There's an anonymous person on the internet that just got a bunch of money from this community, and no one knows if that person has the same incentives as them to like make this project great. And I think by like us doing that, what it told everybody was that like, hey, not only are we honest and we have like integrity, but we're also gonna work really fucking hard to make sure that the people that put their faith in us, we're gonna get something great out of it.
Yeah.
And obviously in tandem, you know, Frank is like a really, really, really amazing PR person. He was just like calming everybody's nerves and like building a bunch of hype. And over the next 3 months, we were pretty much just trying everything. So we tried to launch a Web3 Reddit platform. We tried to launch like a Web3 educational platform where like, you know, creators could earn crypto for like writing really great, like valuable articles and stuff like that. We created like a tipping platform for creators.
Did any of them work?
All of them worked. No one liked any of them.
No, none of them took off.
None of them took off.
What'd you guys learn from that?
We just learned,
like, stay in your niche.
No, you know what we learned in that? That was one of the greatest things, was that no one really gives a fuck about like your like this esoteric thing that you think is cool. What people really wanted was for us to build the community and just continue delivering on the premise of like returning value to our holders, which is why we think people are there. So it's like they want cooler people in the community that they can gain access to. They want cooler things to do, and they want people. They want to feel like they're honestly like that their NFT is accruing in value and that they're yeah.
Just to sit on that for a second, like what does it take, or like what were you doing to like build a successful community, and like what does that even mean to have a successful community in like NFTs, and like what were you providing the value to them that it was like increasing the prices of these DGods?
Yeah. So I think we got really lucky because kind of it's crazy to think about, but like those early days like really set up a community that was like pretty diehard and was just like built in to do crazy shit. And we had this one guy, Kai, who like in the first couple months of DGods, he like jumped out of an airplane like dressed as a DGod.
Oh, you showed me that video.
Yeah. And so that was like this community member, and people were getting like tattoos and stuff already.
No way.
Yeah, very early, like 3 months in. And so we had this like kind of crazy community already, and they did a lot of it for us. And we also got lucky. There's like 2 guys. One's like a fucking insane trader, like Wall Street trader, and the other guy's like the CEO of like a public oil company. And these guys like have a private jet and like yachts, and they would just like dress up as their DGods and like go sit courtside and like hang out in the PJ. And they would be like, they were building all this like aspirational hype for our community, and they were just diehards. They just like
fans,
loved.
yeah.
They just love the community. They're great guys. We know them very well now. And
when you say community, just so I could get like wrap my head around that more, is that just like to us, it's like my group of friends, like that's the community, like you're just building like a Discord of like-minded people that could help each other out type of thing, or what exactly is the community?
It sounds a little cliche, but I think it's similar to like what a fraternity or sorority is in college, except like now it's like instead of the college being the thing that's tying you together, it's like the internet, or like more specifically like crypto Twitter is like for a lot of people that's like the starting place. So if you're just like someone that's hanging out on Twitter a lot, and you kind of like find your clan, and it's like you find your group of people that are like-minded, and like for us, like we've built a community of people who are fun-loving, who don't take themselves too seriously, but are also really motivated and ambitious. And that's kind of like the vibe of our communities. And there's other communities that are like very like they're very intelligent and intellectual, and there's other communities that are very like chill or happy-go-lucky, and like our vibe was that from an early stage. And that's kind of like when I think of community, I think it's like that it's like the ethos, it's like the energy of the group of people. And really what it is people that are hanging out in Discord, Twitter, supporting each other, being friends, sharing information, giving each other opportunities, giving anything. Like some of these people get jobs, people make friends, people find girlfriends and boyfriends. Like it's like anything else. It's like what you think of as like a Soho house or I don't know,
social networking.
Yeah, but it's all online.
Yeah, I'm curious, like to take it back a little bit, were you guys, and maybe just because I'm not super well versed in NFT and Web3 space, like were you guys always planning on being anonymous? Is that like what all the NFTs do?
No, not necessarily. When we started, honestly, we wanted to be anonymous because all of us were kind of new to Web3. And it seemed like there was some pretty chaotic stuff that happened in Web3.
Like what?
In the most like intense case, like people are like targeted for people are being like robbed or like stuff. I think
sure.
Yeah, or and then there's like even more intense things where it's like I don't know. It's like crypto is like kind of like is born from like the more like primal part of the internet. And so we were just, I think it was more of like okay, well, we want to like protect ourselves at the start and protect our identities, and but then very quickly after, it became kind of our lore. And it was like,
do you think that's helped the brand?
I think so. I think it's because it's a lot of our brand has been built off of like us being like a group of guys that just kind of like figured out this project, and like are just like young guys that you can relate to. And I think like being faceless is in many ways like makes us like more relatable.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're not like you can attach a lot to like a voice, especially when a voice is like very casual and calm and like fun. And so like when we're like talking to people on like Twitter Spaces and stuff like that, like people can just like relate, and it doesn't have to be like this, this like unattainable version of a person. So I think that's where we are now. I think there's a very good chance that we all get like doxed, which is like pretty much our identities, real identities get revealed pretty soon.
Do you care at this point?
Not too much, honestly. I think at this point, like
you've solidified yourself in the
yeah,
space.
I think that we.
You think that's gonna naturally happen though?
I think it will. I think well, the way it happened for Bored Ape was like BuzzFeed just like released an article, and I think that like our identities are like, I think we've done a good job of like of like keeping an anonymous like paper trail, like. But we've met tons of people in person now. When we threw a big party in New York for NFT NYC, and we met everybody with, as ourselves. So it's like, I don't think that we don't have anything to hide. It's like it's just more for like the lore, and it's kind of fun and it's cool. And it's also cool to just kind of have a personality that's not you, because it's like, it just feels like you can be like a little bit more of an authentic version of yourself, honestly.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, none of you guys necessarily had experience in the Web3 space when you guys decided to like start
the
company.
Well, I would say that, so Frank was working in Web3 for like since like the start of like 2021, but more on like the token side, not like NFTs. So he definitely had like some experience, and I think that helped us a lot because I think there's a language to everything, right? Like I bet if like when I'm talking to you, if I was talking to you guys about like making a music video or making a commercial, like there's terms that you use and there's language and there's a vibe. And so if like I just came in off rip, oh shit, sorry. I'm about to do an ad for this thing. This is my favorite thing in the entire world. I have this thing, it's called a Chipolo, and pretty much it's so that you can find your keys when they're missing, but you can also just like hit it twice, and then it tells you where your phone is. The only thing that sucks is I sit on it a lot, so that's cool. But yeah, it's very helpful. I always lose my shit, so.
All good.
Yeah, Chipolo, sponsored by Chipolo.
Love it. Good
cool.
plug.
Yeah, I'm just curious, like, obviously you guys started the NFT. A lot of people start NFTs and it might go somewhere, it might go nowhere, but like pretty much none of them go to number one. Like what is different about you guys that led to you to get to number one, and now you've held number one?
Well, I think the first thing was that it was just something that we actually wanted to do. I think like I'm a big believer in like you kind of like you set a vision, and you'll like the right answer will come. Yeah. So that was like our goal. So I think that's a big part of it. And then like tactically what it was we were all trying to do something new. We were all trying to do something that hadn't been done before, that could like push the space forward. And so at the time, we were trying all these different things. And I mean, I'll give a principle too that I think about like marketing, and that I think was like the thought process behind what we did, which was that like the product is the best marketing, right? And we learned that very viscerally with DGods. It was like the marketing was the announcement. Yeah. Us saying like, hey, we're building this thing, that was the marketing in of itself, because that kept people talking and people asking us questions about that, which spurred all these conversations, which made for more interest. And so at the time we were like, so that was like very much like our marketing was, we were trying something new every few weeks. And we launched this token called Dust in January, the January 1st. We got rid of the paper hand bitch tax. That was it was a failed experiment, by the way.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the paper hand bitch tax, like pretty much what ended up happening was, it was a couple things. I think there wasn't I think one thing was like, even if you think about the equation, if you're taxed for being under the floor 33%. Only 1/3 of the value of that NFT is going in the fund, which is then used to buy the floor. All people would just pile up around the floor, and it just caused the floor to just keep coming down. So that experiment didn't really work. And we tried.
Well, it did at first.
What?
It got you all the people to start buying.
Yeah, people were interested. It was great. Like, I think it was a great way for us to build
good
like
marketing.
it was marketing. It was cool. It was like, it was like, when they say there's like 7 blades in this razor, it was kind of like that. It was like, even though it didn't really work, it was like interesting, and it was new and it was fresh. And so people like connected to that. So after like 3 months of that not working, we got rid of it. And, we replaced, like, the new idea was we created a token that people could stake their NFT for. So we started this token called Dust, and we wanted to give it utility. So we came up with the idea of upgrading the art. And this was something that no one had ever done before. Pretty much what we did was we created 10,000 new pieces of art that were upgrades to the original that you could swap your NFT for. So it was cool because when we had actually to create the paper and bitch stacks, we had to do something which was we were hosting the images on AWS. I don't know if there's a simple way to explain this. Pretty much we had the option to update the actual image of each NFT.
Like updating a video game.
Yeah. So we could update it. And so once we knew that we could do that, we were like, fuck, we should do something cool with this. Mm-hmm. And so we came up with this idea for 1,000 dust, which would have been 3 months of staking your DGod, which was pretty much saying that you weren't going to be listing it on a marketplace, which would thin out the floor, which was a good thing. Less people listed, less supply.
And it ups the price for demand.
Yeah, well, yeah, generally, right? And so what we did was we created this. We had this concept called DeGods. And it really happened. This is kind of a fun story. Was we went to, at the time we were having a really hard time. Like we were still burnt out because we were trying a bunch of shit. Nothing was working. The floor was like, our community was pissed off at us. The floor was low. And not that really matters too much, but people were like, upset at us. There wasn't as much progress happening. And so we decided as a team that we would drive out to the desert and just like rent an Airbnb, kind of like the Alabama experience, just like recreating that. And we went out there to make merch. The hoodie that I'm wearing right now. Nice. That was the idea.
You weren't just getting a regular house, though. You guys were going big, right?
What?
You guys were going big when you were renting houses?
This was like the very first one. So it was just 4 of us there.
Okay.
So we just had like a regular house in like the suburbs, and we just like posted up there for like a week, 10 days. And what happened was we like 3 or 4 days in, we were like, okay, we got to like provide some like utility for Dust. And so we just convinced Delilah, our artist, to sketch some stuff. And we had this idea for DeGods, and it was kind of like for Bored Ape has like mutant apes. And so we were like, we don't want to do that. Like mutants kind of, it's a pretty cool thing. I know, Austin, you don't know a ton about, you don't have the visual here, but pretty much they took their Bored Apes and made them mutated, okay. And they're really cool looking. And so we were like, okay, what if we deaded all of ours?
Yeah.
So we made them like the dead versions of them. But with like a ton of high detail and like, a lot of like thoughtfulness and creativity. And
what was the hard part about convincing your designer to go through all of them and deadify them?
Yeah, he was honestly excited because there was a lot of people were calling them ugly, the DGods. So we were excited to upgrade it, and that was part of it too. Like, a lot of people thought the art was like a little corny. And I mean, we made it in like 3 weeks, so fuck them. Yeah, so that was definitely a motivating factor, and so we started working on this collection, this fully new collection. We brought on 2 more artists, and for about 2 months, we went from Airbnb to Airbnb in the fucking desert, and we created this collection, and it was nuts. The art was some of I think still some of the best art in NFTs. It was super high detailed. We had a whole storyline for everything. It was like the idea of the art was not just that they were the dead versions of the gods, but that the whole collection was telling the story of the cycle of life. So we had like by rarity. So like as you may know, the NFTs have rarity built in. So there's like common, uncommon, rare, super rare, mythic. And through the rarity, we were telling the story. So it was like commons were like depicting like the act of death, being killed, dying. And then it was like rares were like showing like new life. So you would like from the death, there would be like flowers emerging and it's small animals, and we have like squirrels and shit that are like coming out of them. And then we had like mythic, the most rare traits were like transcendence. So it's like the spiritual element of death. So it's like super like colorful and like supernovas and like, just like beautiful art. So this was like the story that we were telling. And
do you think the story helped take it to another level?
I think so. I think this was the other thing, was like Delilah was being super like secretive about the art and didn't want to share a lot of it
with you guys.
No, with the public.
Community. Okay.
With the public. And so in his general thought process, there was just that like some things are like great art should just be experienced as a whole, you know?
Yeah.
And so, anyway, long story short, when we launched it, the run up, the hype just leading up to it.
Where were you ranked at that time?
We went from, we were like nowhere on the list to like, I remember we climbed up, like first we got to like a 10 soul floor, which was like crazy. We were like, holy shit. Then we went up to 33.3. That was like a big number that people were like, oh, what if they get to 33? And we did. And that was fucking nuts.
What were you ranked when you were at 33? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Hundreds?
Probably.
Okay.
Maybe somewhere in like the top 100, maybe top 50 or something like that. And then by the time we were getting ready to launch DeGods, we had actually already gotten to the number 1 spot because people had so much hype.
Stayed number 1 throughout this entire time.
Yeah, no. So on the rise to launching DeGods, we made it to number 1 because there's so much hype. Sorry?
How long did that take?
2 months.
2 months.
Yeah.
And you're just like marketing that you guys are going to be releasing this new DeGods.
Yeah, and it was really revolutionary at the time. No one was upgrading their art. People were like fascinated by the idea. And
so if you owned a DGod, did you get a DeGod or no?
So you had to stake your DGod for Dust. If you staked it for 3 months, you could have it was 1,000 Dust to upgrade. That's how it worked. So you had to have a DGod, and that was...
What does it mean to stake it?
Stake it, pretty much what it means is that you just put it on a website. You connect your wallet. You pretty much...
Just you won't sell it.
You pretty much actually... If I had to say, I think the actual mechanic is that what you're pretty much doing is you're almost like giving us the NFT, and in exchange, we're giving you tokens, and then whenever you're ready, you can take that. You can take it back. It's kind of like it's like going in escrow.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of like locked up, and you can't really do anything with it. That's what staking is. And so when you stake it, in return, we're giving you token. So if you did that for 3 months, you were pretty much earning 10 Dust a day. So if you had 1,000 Dust, you could exchange the Dust for the upgrade. And yeah, so when we finally released the art, everybody expects that like when these big things reveal, like everything's gonna crash. But we exceeded everybody's expectations, so that just sent us even higher, and it was fucking insane. Mm-hmm. So we started like at our so then that like was the first like hype cycle. Then we like bought this basketball team, which was very controversial. And
Do you still have it?
Yeah, a big 3 team, team in if anybody watches like 3v3 basketball, we have a team in the big 3 called the Killer Threes. And then we launched our second project, Utes, which was like a crazy run up. So we almost got, I remember there was like a bunch of things where there was like this new project called OK Bears that a lot of people know of, and they almost passed us, but they didn't. I still will remember the night where they were like so close. They were maybe like 10 soul away from like passing us. And I remember we like sat in a room, we were like, we can't let this happen.
Yeah, what do we do?
And so we just like, I think we just like, I don't even remember what we did that night, but we did something. And and yeah, we made it through the night. And but at one point at our height, our project was worth more than the next 10 projects combined.
Wow.
So, holy shit.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what are the like the details on this basketball team.
Yeah.
So you guys bought a basketball team.
Yeah. So how the story went was a dude in our community worked for the Big Three, or he was one of the founders of the Big Three, and the Big Three was trying to change their model. Pretty much, the way the Big Three works is there's no geography for the teams, so teams are just there's no cities, there's no like Cleveland whatever's.
Yeah.
And they thought it would be they saw what was happening with NFTs and like these digital communities, and even like different tokens that like Dogecoin has like a huge community.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, what if we sold our teams to these communities and really like create this kind of like this new concept of like non-geography based teams. Like what if the teams were signed like how we used to be geographic based communities, now we have online based communities. So what if we did that? And so they pretty much they created the ownership of their team into NFTs. And we acquired, they offered us and a handful of other people, Bored Ape, Moonbirds, Gary Vee bought a team, Snoop Dogg, so a handful of celebrities bought teams, and we were one of them, and we were really, it was really exciting. We were like the first one to announce that we did it. We were the first people to do it, and it was very controversial because people were like, why the fuck are you guys buying a basketball team? But it was honestly a really good deal.
Is there a return on that investment? Like, have you made money from that?
No, we haven't made any money. But the cool thing is, so we pretty much have, we don't have any expenses on the team. The Big Three handles all the salaries, transportation, all that stuff. We just pretty much own, we have some decision making, like, if we want to hire, fire someone, if we want to try and acquire a new player, we can do that. And we own the entire IP of the brand, so we can sell merch, and we also we can change the name. So next year we might change the name, but we're the Killer Threes. We kind of like it. 33.3. It's kind of like our thing. Yeah. So
were you always a Killer Threes? Like, is that what their name was when you bought them?
Yeah, that was the name, and it's a really cool. It's a good team too. We have this player Frank Nitti. He's like really really exciting to watch. He's like. He's just a great shooter, really electric player.
So you say they're not geographically based anywhere, but where are they based?
So the players actually live. They also don't all live in the same place. So like, I think Frank lives here in LA or in Irvine. Damon Green is another one of our players. I'm not sure. I want to say that he lives like somewhere in the Midwest or something like that. But they pretty much have like these like training camps, and when they play, they get flown out to the different places. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Damn, that's wild.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Yeah, now just diving into like Utes, what were the marketing tactics there, and like what did you learn from any fuck ups you might have had on like DGods or unsuccessful things that you applied there that really blew that up?
Yeah. I mean, I think what's been really cool about this last year with DGods, Utes, everything has been like, we've been in like a space vacuum where like we're dropping something new like every couple weeks or a month, so you learn like super fast, and all that growth, all that stuff is compounded. And I think Utes was like this really crazy moment because we had spent a year of like learning how to build hype on Twitter, and Utes was like the opportunity for us to like kind of really go crazy. It was like our new project, so it's almost like we're starting new. It's like, how would you start a completely new project from scratch? And we came up with this really crazy idea, which was called like scholarships. So instead of normally where like people there's like whitelists and people are like hustling for a whitelist, we had the idea that everybody would apply, like almost like they were applying for a college.
That's fun.
And they would have to give their like resume and to get a spot on the ability to mint a Ute.
How many did you get?
We got like 70,000. Yeah. So, and we went through all of them, which is shout out to our mods. They were insane and went through all of them. They're mad at us right now, but shout out to them. It was crazy. We got some insane applications: Wayne Rooney, Lil Baby, Bryce Hall.
Damn.
We a couple professional like basketball players, football players. We got this kid, Facu Palestri. He's like the youngest kid on like Manchester United. Is like,
wow.
Yeah, he's crazy, and he's like an actual like he scores goals and stuff, and he's like a really cool kid. He actual like fan of DGods, which is really, really cool. And we've like interfaced a little bit in DMs and stuff, and he's a really nice guy.
Where do you even come up with this, like these ideas of like coming up with like a resume to make people apply? Are you guys just like sitting in a room, like just fucking around, throwing shit on a whiteboard, and like, oh, that's funny?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the ideas come from I think what's cool about our team is because like everybody kind of comes from like different spaces. We are like taking inspiration from everywhere. And of course, like, you know, Frank is like a really good like growth marketer, so I think he just like takes like the best out of a lot of different things, and we're all like really good at like ping-ponging ideas and just like making them better. And like because we have like great working relationship, like we're not like scared to tell someone that their idea is fucking trash. Yeah. You know what I mean? So there's like very little, like there's like no room for ego in our team, especially like a year like that we've had. It's like you have to just like go straight for the jugular. So we don't really like waste time like, you know, being nice to each other, which is sometimes harsh. Like you get your idea shot down and everybody calls you a fucking idiot and you're like, God damn it. But then it also allows for like, you know, just like, it's like radical candor kind of thing. Yeah. And we also just like all love each other. So it comes from a really good place. But yeah, so the Utes rollout was insane, and it built like what ended up being like way too much hype that we weren't quite ready for, because, you know, we were pretty much starting a collection from scratch, and we had so much more. It was like the pressure was 1,000 times more than when we were first launching DGods, and that ended up being a little bit of a shitstorm when we launched. And but yeah, that was one of those things where we just learned that, you know, like if you give people an opportunity to learn about something on their own and self-select that they want to be a part of something,
so don't feed it like down their throat, let them come to you.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we were in a blessed position where we could allow people to that there was enough people that were interested that they were happy to do that. But the lesson there was just, yeah, it's like you know, it's kind of like an invitation versus like please.
Yeah.
You know,
I guess now that like you've done this for what, a year and a half now, I'd say.
Yeah, a year and like a couple months, which is nuts.
Yeah, like now, like if you were to give me advice, like if I told you I want to start an NFT, like what are the top like marketing things that you would tell me off the bat that I need to do, or else it's automatically gonna fail?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like off rip, I would just say, you know, focus on the community and define like what the values you want that community to have. I think that's like probably something that most communities like really don't think too much about.
They just want to sell and get the dollar.
Yeah, they just want to like. I think everybody. It's like coming from a scarcity mindset where it's like, you know, you're like, fuck, how are we gonna get these people to be interested in us? So you kind of like take everybody, and then what that creates is like this hodgepodge of people, and like what honestly ends up being like the most powerful force in that is people who are maximizing dollars. Yeah. And so that's not like the best environment in my opinion. And I think when I think of like the best projects, it's like they just capture an energy, and it's like the energy of, honestly, of the time. It's kind of like, you know, like just like how a great song like captures the mood, you know, and of like how people are feeling in a moment. It's same thing with like with NFTs. It's like, you know, I think OK Bears is another project that was really popular on Solana. At the time, we were this like very like degenerate force, and like people are like chugging beer out of shoes, and it's like, oh, it's very masculine, and it's like, we're gonna be number one, like fuck yeah, let's go. And then OK Bears was like, we're just chill. Like our whole vibe is, it's like good vibes. It's like it's like their whole thing is like lo-fi aesthetic, and like, you know, I think we were like a little offended at first because like so many people resonated with it, and it felt like a very like it kind of felt like a punch under the belt, kind of like very sly, like, and their whole thing was like, we're chill, we're not like the other guys, and it was like this very like passive aggressive kind of thing. Yeah. But it honestly, what they did so well was they captured, I think, like we were all the way over here, and we caused like we were very polarizing, and there needed to be that kind of like other space. So I think like for new projects, it's like, what is that energy that you want to grab? Are you a bull? Are you a bear? You know, are you friendly? Are you you know, radically honest? Are you Are you loud? Are you quiet? You know, and like that, if you can build your brand around that, people will be, it will cause like a magnetic force where people will feel pulled to your project because they like the energy and they like the vibe. Because at the end of the day, what you're really building is just like a group of people that people want to be associated with. And it starts with you as a founder. The second thing, super tactical, is just do Twitter Spaces a lot. And be a cool person in Twitter Spaces. Go in other spaces. Make friends. Be intelligent. Have good remarks. And people just want to follow you in general. And that's a great place to start, because if you have a leader that makes people feel confident, that leader has their best interests, they'll follow, and that's what everybody wants. They want a group of people where they think they're headed in the right direction, because 99% of decisions that people make in crypto are the wrong decision, and they go to fucking zero. And we've all been there, where it's just like, you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, fuck. Why didn't I just fucking buy Bored Ape? Or why didn't I just buy a fucking Moonbird? Or why didn't I buy a DGod or whatever? And so that you want to just like, you don't want to give people that experience. That's a shit experience, you know?
Yeah.
If we're talking about like, you guys make fucking music videos, it's like, if the artist or the end consumer watches the video and they're like, like whatever, that's a shit experience. Like, you want people to be like, oh fuck,
yeah,
that was sick. And it's like the same thing is like, you know, with NFTs, you want people to feel like, we always think is like, we want to make people feel brilliant for taking a bet on us.
Yeah.
Because that's really what we're trying to do, you know?
And then just to dive deeper into that, like strategically and tactically, like what do you do to like make them feel good? Like you mentioned like Twitter Spaces, which is good. Like what other things would you like tell me to do? Not like macro, but more like micro, like in the weeds, like marketing wise.
Well, you know, I think it's like, it's funny because it starts with the macro and then like that informs the micro. And I would say, and by that I mean, it's like, if your project isn't doing well and it's not attracting, like if your only metric was just like new people interested, if you were only gauging it on like real authentic, like followers, fans, people in your Discord, whatever, people who are actually communicating, you had a metric on that, I think that solves all your problem. Because if there's more people every day that are interested in your project, you're winning. Because it's like, what we're doing here at its core is we're selling art. So think about it, like how does art gain value? It's just more people being interested in that artist. So it's like if we go to fucking Basquiat or some shit like that, it's like if every day a new person, like if, and that's like a great story, right? It's like, I don't really know Basquiat's story, but I think he was like a poor kid that was living in Brooklyn, and he was like a graffiti artist. Mm-hmm. And I think he had like a really interesting past or whatever. And he became friends with Andy Warhol. So now it's just like, who's this kid from Brooklyn who's friends with Andy Warhol? That's a compelling story. Now you're telling your friend about that. So every day there's like a new person interested in Basquiat. That's like, I think that's really what, at its very, very fundamental core, that's what NFTs should be doing. A lot of people are trying to solve really esoteric problems. Like, they're like, oh, you know, we're going to be this like protocol video game and you're going to earn fucking, you know, bullshit token for like, you know, running a marathon and like, I don't know, staking your fucking squiggle for, you know, like there's just like, there's a lot of shit like that. And it's like, honestly, I think people are more just interested in like, you know, are there going to be cooler people here tomorrow? Is my art going to accrue in value? And is the team going to be the people that attract more people to make that happen? And so that at its fundamental core is like, I think the macro, and then the micro is just, it's just show up every day and figure out what your micro is, because it's different from you to me to whoever.
How do you guys stay current and like stay number one? Like, of course, there's competition, but like, how do you keep that going?
Our biggest thing, I think, again, like I'm very these days I feel like I'm very like obsessed with like I'm very obsessed with like the super simple core answer of things, and I think like the easy thing is like, we don't only want to be number one, like we want to be the number one in the world. So like our sights are like, how are we going to flip Bored Ape? And so when we think about that, it's very hard for us not to stay number one, because it's like our goal is like, okay, we want to be the biggest project in the world. So it's like, it's just, if we drop to number 2, it's like we're fucking up.
Yeah.
So we're not going to stay number 2 long. And so far it's never happened because it's just like that's not even an option.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, and so tactically how we do that is like, you know, we're always dropping something new, and we're very like, we're hyper aware of ourselves, you know, and we don't like kid ourselves. Like, we know that like a project could come and like flip us, you know, so to do that, we're always like, oh, we know, okay, we're tired, we're frustrated, we don't know what the fuck we're doing, but it's like, we gotta launch something new.
Yeah.
We gotta make something cool. What are people asking for? And the great thing about Twitter is there is no shortage of opinion. Everybody tells you what the fuck they want.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, you're not doing this. And we're like, okay, bet.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I'm curious, like, you guys obviously have figured it out, and you're just like a group of like friends pretty much who did this. Like, I know a lot of big brands have tried moving into like the NFT or Web3 space. Are there any ones you've seen that have like done it extremely successfully, and you think they're doing it the right way, or any ones that like have just fallen flat on their face and like you know exactly what they were doing wrong?
Yeah. I think most brands, I'm trying to think if there's a brand that has done it well. I think most brands kind of fall on their face because they don't understand, like, people get kind of like hung up on like the technology of NFTs or like the art. I remember like the US Open, like the tennis, they like launched an NFT, but it was like they kind of just like sold the same image over and over again. And then like I know like Budweiser like literally like rugged, like they like launched a project and then like said that they weren't gonna do it anymore. And like I think a lot of people are just kind of misinformed. And I mean, honestly, no, they should do better research, but like it's very confusing. There's no guide to this, you know. But I think all of them just don't understand how hard it is to maintain a community and keep those people happy. And really what the expectation is everybody just expects you to have a really cool, interesting announcement every few weeks or a month. Few weeks better. You know, it's kind of like we think of ourselves more similarly to like an actual content company where it's like, okay, like we have to have like a new video every few weeks, and it's like our video is like an announcement that we're doing this or that we're going to do that, or we're going to throw a party for our holders, or we're going to drop new merch, or we're going to, you know, launch a new collection, or we're going to have this collaboration, or we're going to have this partnership. So we just think of it like that. And I think we just actually know what people want. So we're not going to be like, if everybody's upset at us, we're not going to be like, guys, guess what? We got new trucker hats for you. It's like, They're like, fuck you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so I think we're like hyper self-aware. Like we know what people want. And that's because we just kind of keep our ear to the ground. And and that's also shout out. We have such an amazing team. And everybody is on Twitter 24/7. So I think we know what people want, and we really care about the holders.
I'm curious, like, you guys get a lot of feedback from the community and the public on Twitter on like what you guys should do. How do you filter and know like let's actually take what they're saying? Like, how do you know like what to take and move forward with, and like what to leave behind?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's more like it's like what's constructive.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people will give like these like really wild advice. Mm-hmm. I think the simplest way to answer your question, it's just like using our best judgment.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes people give advice and you're like, oh fuck, wow, that was great advice, and we don't have the ego to be like, oh, since a community member gave us that, we can't use it. It's like, yeah, great. Our best ideas honestly come from the community. So much. You'd be surprised. Some of the stuff people have very well thought out. I'm blanking on like a great specific example, but I remember multiple times where we're like, whoa, this person's idea was
fucking
excellent.
Genius.
Yeah, that was like, fuck yeah, we're totally using that. But then there's also, most of it is like
a lot of shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit, and it comes from a good place. I think some of it doesn't, but most of it comes from a good place. But yeah.
And are you guys asking for feedback, or they're just giving it to you?
Yeah, just give it.
That's cool.
Yeah, but I mean, we're like open to it. You know, I think we've built an ethos of that. Like people know that we listen and that we care. Yeah.
I would say I feel like from what I'm hearing throughout this whole podcast, like a big reason you guys are successful is because like not only do you listen, but it allows you just to be able to like resonate with your community and understand what they want and what they need type of thing. And I just think like a big reason too why Austin and I started the company is because we wanted to just make content that resonated with today's generation. Like we would see these like 50-year-old guys making music videos for some artists who like core audience is 10 to 15, and they would have like a Snapchat integration and they've never opened Snapchat before, you know? So it just felt off to us. So that's why, we should start our company. I'm curious, like, what are you seeing brands doing well, even like in the Web 2 space, like marketing wise?
Yeah. I don't know the last time I saw, like, dude, you know what my favorite, this is totally off topic, but my favorite ad probably of all time recently, not of all time, but recently, have been those, was it Uber Eats or like Postmates that have like the, like, it's like when all you can burger is think about or some shit.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen those?
Yeah.
Is that Postmates?
Those were like were those billboard ads?
What I loved about it is it was across all channels. I saw it on like fucking TikTok. I saw it on YouTube. I see them on billboards. I see them everywhere, and I'm like, it's so cohesive, and it's just such a simple ad. I think
that's some of the best marketing and advertising is just like simplicity.
So simple.
I feel like a lot of companies are trying to like make it very complex and like try to think of these big ideas that are going to like target
but that's not
TikTok, Instagram, broadcast all at the same time. Like I know since you just have like a deep understanding of like social channels and marketing on them, like what do you even see as like the right strategies? Like what's the strategy for Twitter versus Instagram versus like TikTok that you see like people fucking up on that like needs to be changed?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that everybody fucks up on is that they don't take the time to just like understand what the culture of the like the app they're on is, like how they communicate. So like for example, like, you know, if you were trying to like market on Twitter like you market on Instagram, like you're just gonna fucking lose. Because they're just completely different, you know, like Twitter's all about like, it's kind of toxic. It's like all about like clapbacks and like, it's like snarky comments and it's like smart and it's intellectual and it's about like, you're really flexing like your brain.
So Elon Musk.
Yeah, like that's why Elon crushes it. He's like he's smart, but he's also like, you know, he gives his like little clapbacks. He's kind of like, he's also like shit posting and stuff, but like, and he really understands the culture there. But it's like, you know, like Instagram really like people, it's like aesthetics, you know, it's like really about like it's pretty pictures and videos, and those like that's like the ethos of it's kind of vain, and it's like the you know, it's like it's like a gallery. And so, and like TikTok is all about like being like hyper relatable and like aspirational and like creative, and you know so there's just like different, I think there's different like flavors to each of these platforms, and like the people who I think perform the best are the people that understand that like juicy core of what people are actually looking for on each platform. And I'm sure there's a through line that I probably have not yet figured out. Probably it's that people want to feel heard, understood, you know, connected in some way, and that's probably what like all of them have together. But yeah, I think that's like the big thing that I see is like, same to coming back to your original question, Jake, is like, you know, with like brands with NFTs, is that a lot of them just don't take the time to actually understand. I don't think they actually have been a part of an NFT community, but they're launching an NFT. And it's like, if they just spent a month just hanging out in like a Discord, they would probably understand. They'd be like, oh shit, like maybe a brand shouldn't be doing an NFT. I think that's a very good point. Like right now, maybe unless like, because even like Gary Vee is like damn near like VeeFriends is kind of like a brandish almost, for sure. You know, and it's like some of these like, it's like should like a Pepsi have an NFT project? Maybe. I think like what would that like form of that be? It would probably be
it
like,
can't just be what they're already selling.
It would have to be like, it could be like an exclusive club of some kind. It could be like, but then it's like if they don't have the infrastructure for that built out, like Soho
it's gonna
House
fail.
Yeah, even like if you think about it, like even if Soho House did like an NFT, it's like an NFT has to be it has to be bought and sold on an open market. there are non-transferable NFTs, obviously, but then it's like that's kind of not where the ethos of NFTs are right now. If you think about like the biggest projects, so it's like I think it's just like actually understanding the market, and that's what gives brands like the best.
What do you think in general you're seeing that like marketers are just doing wrong in general? If there's like a more like micro level of it, like especially with like a recession coming, like even cryptos like crashing and stuff, like you have to be smarter with your money now. You don't just have free reign of money to spend. Like what do you think is going to change or has to change for them to really be getting the ROI that they're looking for?
Yeah, fuck. I mean, well, this is like my first recession, so I don't really know. And I think it is fascinating because I remember like I used to read all the marketing books and they were like, oh, Kellogg's like in the Great Depression, like they spent the most on like marketing and they like blew up. So it's like I don't fucking know what the strategy is. But I think generally like always the thing that's wrong with like marketing is when you're not solving for making people feel like you're not solving for like the wow moment for the end consumer. You know, so it's like if your goal as like a marketer, and even taking a step back is like, because there's two forms of marketing, right? There's like the marketing that's built into the product, and then there's like the marketing that's like to hype the product. I think
more
like
to hype the product.
What?
More on the hype the product.
Yeah,
side.
on the hype of the product is like I think you have to have a very, 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 very clear understanding of what that end customer actually wants out of the product or the service, and then you have to give that to them in the marketing. And it's like, you know, some people are, it's like they're trying to solve for like winning the fucking, you know, the award at the marketing, you know, whatever, or they're trying to be cool or appeal to this customer base, and it's like, well, I think
even
even
wrong end goal in mind.
What?
Do they have the wrong end goal in mind?
Yeah, I think the simple way to say it is like they're just focused. They're not focused on the right things.
Yeah.
You know.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Got it. I would say like, is there one thing that stands out that you've seen even from your experience in like the Web3 space where it's like, this is a wrong type of marketing, or we completely approached this wrong and didn't have a clear understanding of what we were doing here?
I've seen a lot. I feel like I've seen a lot of examples. I think like the obvious ones are like when you see like NFT projects that are like buying like billboards, or like they're like have a bunch of influencers like pushing their project. Because like again, it's like what you're really trying to do is create like a tight-knit group of people who are gonna like spend time, get value from just like hanging out on like a Discord.
You want it to be organic and not bought.
Exactly. I mean, and that's like the answer for like 90% of things. But it's like, you know, it's like, is some like 13-year-old like kid that follows like Kylie Jenner gonna be like the best person to buy your NFT?
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not. Like you want someone that's like native, building something on Web3, like actually interested, like able to provide value. Those are like the best holders because they're like actually going to hang out. They're going to be adding value to other people. They're going to be like supporting other people in the community. And so it's like, I think it's solving for like people who are just like trying to get a quick cash grab, grabbing some money from the Web3 space rather than, you know, really building something that has like real legs and trying to curate a really community that could stand the test of time. Yeah. The simple.
Makes sense.
Yeah. It's almost like, you know what, honestly, like the best way to think about it is like an NFT project is kind of like throwing a great party. So it's like you want to make sure that like there's like cool people there. And it's like, imagine if you were just like the way that you were going to like throw a party was like getting like Drake to post like something on his like story. And it's like, what, you're just going to have like way too many people who don't know who the fuck they are, where they are. You're going to get.
It's not curated.
It's not curated. Yeah. Yeah. Best way to put it.
Do you think like the new wave of marketing for today is more so like how you build Web3, and it's more like building out the community and making it stronger and like letting the consumer decide that they want to buy rather than trying to push the product in their face to purchase it?
I think it totally depends on the product, right? Because like you have very like functional products like, you know, food and beverage, or like, you know, I don't know, you know, anything that's like a basic utility, you know, anything that like Procter and Gamble sells or whatever, where it's like in those products, like you want to just like obviously appeal to the core consumer. People have changing buying habits. People don't want to consume as much plastic. They don't want to, you know, like there's all those like obvious things. But then like I think we're having a rise of like where people expect more from a brand, where it's like they expect like you know, they expect like if it's a lifestyle brand, they expect like a community, they expect like a vibe, they expect content, they expect like a whole thing. They're like they want to be a part of something. And in those cases, yeah, I think and that's where you're already seeing is like, you know, brands being built in Web3 that are just based off of communities, people coming together. And I think that's cool. I think the businesses that I'm most excited about are like influencer run businesses like Prime and like Feastables by like Mr. Beast, Prime being the KSI Logan Paul like hydration drink. I think those are just fascinating because it's like the first time we're seeing like massive companies being built by like big influencers. Yeah. And I think what's so cool about that is, you know, it's like a decentralization of power, and giving kind of like everybody an open shot at like building something really great. And of course, like everything else is best product wins.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
Yeah.
Do you think, and this is just my final question, but do you think there's like one thing people need to avoid when marketing to today's generation?
And by today's generation, what do you mean?
I just mean more like Gen Z, like our age. Just people that understand what's in and what's going on with culture. Yeah.
I think one thing that people should avoid. That's a great question. I think like I think people just want to they don't want to feel like they're dumb. And I think like when people try and pull a fast one on them, when they try and like sell them super hard, or they try and like you know, it's like they're saying one thing but they're trying to say another. It's like all the like cliche, you know, like you read all those like marketing books that it's like low key like manipulation. Yeah. I think like people are just smart now. Like they can tell what's authentic and they can tell what isn't. So I think it's just like
be genuine and
honest. Yeah, being super genuine and honest. Yeah, well said. You know, I think that's the best thing a brand can do. And a business, yeah. Anyone, if you're selling you're a plumber.
Yeah.
You know?
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We really appreciate it.
Go fuck yourself.
Where can people find you?
People can find me. I'm at Taylor DeGods on Twitter. At Big Daddy 69 on Instagram. No, I'm kidding. You can find DGods and Utes on Twitter as well. DGods NFT, Utes. Why we're spelled with 2 zeros. Y00TS. I'm like
we'll include all the handles.
Yeah.
We got
Put
you.
The handles in there. But yeah, it was great chatting.
Thank you so much.
Man. Appreciate it.